It's so great to have you. Today, I will be talking with Lesley Whitehead, who is a food stylist based out of the west coast of Florida. I'm on the east coast, so that's why I'm just like waving that way. Anyway, she's fabulous. I've had the good fortune of working with her a little bit just before all this quarantine stuff hit. And for those of you who were at the Clickaway conference, you have probably met her in person if you attended my class. Anyways, she and I sit down, we get to talking about business, the ins and outs of putting together a good sandwich, as well as many other things. So stick around. Don't forget to like the video. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any other fabulous interviews and personalities. So let's get started. Can't wait to introduce you to her. Tell me who you are and what you do.
Well, my name is Lesley Whitehead, and I am a part-time food stylist. Would love to go full-time, but a full-time RN working in orthopedics.
Awesome. And where are you located?
Sarasota, Florida.
Awesome. Good place to be some of the time.
Hurricane season, not so much. May to mid-October, quite warm.
Yeah.
As it is for most of Florida.
So how did your interest in food styling and photography begin? It's a real tough question for you.
Kind of a broad topic. I have had a background in food prep, food management, owned restaurants in the Sarasota, Bradenton area for more than 15 years, and made the jump over to the dark side about 5 years ago when I had a colleague of mine recommend me for a food styling job with a local photographer. And it turned into a very long-term relationship between he and I, not that kind of relationship, but I've worked on several projects with him. And he's been just a very nurturing and encouraging mentor for me in this industry.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about the types of jobs that you've done.
Mostly we've done a lot of packaging work, some advertising stuff as well for magazines, online stuff as well, but a lot of packaging work.
And when you say packaging, you're talking about like?
We've done work for A Roni, Butterball,
yep.
For Aunt Jemima, which is owned by Pepsico, and a local company on the other coast where you're located, which is DeLand Bakery, and they're a gluten-free bakery.
That's conveniently located near me.
Yeah. So we've done some packaging and advertising stuff for them as well.
Very cool. What was your first paid gig and what was it like?
The first paid gig was working on a little project. It was going for, again, it was for some packaging for hemp seeds. And like I've said a million times, if you can style little hemp seeds, I think you can style just about anything. They're not the most easy things to work with. They're slippery and translucent and not really a great thing to try and photograph and make look pretty.
Plus they're super, super tiny.
They're super tiny.
Yeah. No kidding. What's one of the biggest challenges that someone in food styling might face on the job?
Well, having enough product to work with is always a challenge. Making sure that you've either brought enough or that the client has supplied enough, because, not everything that you take out of a package is the hero piece, or something, is damaged or bruised or, so you just always want to make sure that you have enough on hand to get you through the shoot. And let's see, another challenge might be, communication and knowing exactly what the client is looking for.
Yeah.
That's
sometimes it takes a crystal ball.
sometimes it does. And sometimes what they think they want, once you set it up and shoot it, isn't what they had something different in mind, but they just couldn't relay it to you.
That's true. So like, how many times do you think you've started a project and you thought you knew what the goal was, and by the end of the shoot, it was, 30 to 60% different from what you all went in thinking you were going to do?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. And I swear it happens every single time that the last shot that you take is like the best shot that you take.
Right. Yeah. Like, you could be frustrated the whole time. You're like, they changed this and they changed that and and then at the end you're like, oh, but yeah, this is nice.
Yeah. But we got here and now it's over and they're pleased and everything's great. So
yeah. It is a massive challenge sometimes to get from point A to point B, and it really takes sometimes some psychic skills to even understand when you get feedback and it's like, it seems like it should be clear, but it's not. Like, I got one that was one feedback once that was sort of like, this looks really gloopy, and you're like, okay, but you're like looking at an entire tabletop. There's so many things happening. Could you be more specific? And then I think in that instance, it was that they wanted it to be have more volume and less drizzled. So their idea of gloopy was drizzled, and our idea of what gloopy might be was, blobby,
I was thinking blobby.
Yeah, but it was the exact opposite. So
I was not, yeah. Okay, there you go. The meanings of gloopy.
Right. One of the things that I've employed before on set, trying to get clarity on something like that before, is like taking a picture and then drawing over it and sending it to them, be like A or B before I resauce it. Like if I just draw with the pen tool in Photoshop, and just be like, is this gloopy or is this gloopy? Super helpful.
Make arrows, point to the gloopy.
Yes, please help us out. What's your favorite tool or piece of equipment to have on hand on set, and why?
Ooh, let's see. Straws are always good.
Mm-hmm. What do you use the straws for?
To blow crumbs into or out of something, or if you need to drop some liquid.
Yeah.
I use a lot of skewers.
Oh yeah.
And chopsticks.
See, and they're inexpensive pieces of equipment.
I usually swipe a couple from Asian restaurants, the extra ones. Yeah. And I really prefer the Japanese style where they're more pointy than the Chinese style.
Yeah.
I mean, that sounds so nitpicky.
No, but you need that extra ability to be precise. I think that's where that comes in.
And then always some nice dental tools as well. Little pickups are always good.
Yeah. I saw that you had those too. That's awesome. What do you think is the most challenging food to style, and why?
Soups are just not typically great things to try and style. You have to kind of fill the bottom and build it up and just put a thin layer of soup and then kind of drop the vegetables on top, otherwise everything just kind of sinks.
Yeah.
Beige food or brown food is always, universally the challenge to try and get to look.
What's the worst brown food? Like when you're talking about that, because brownies, I mean, that's not that bad, right?
That's not that bad. I'm talking more meat. Meat is always hard.
Yeah.
You kind of have to undercook it and, do the grill marks, and it's always a challenge.
Yeah.
You're working.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that's cooked all the way through, like a stewed item.
Right.
Or braised.
Right. So you're not slicing it open to show a pink or anything. You're like, it's brown. Just brown. What would you say is something that you have a good amount of experience with, or a unique experience with, that you have a proficiency in that?
A proficiency? Well, our restaurant that we had for over 10 years was a salad restaurant. So, I'm pretty proficient with the cold line, anything cold and greens and salad related, sandwich wraps. That's kind of,
You just like listed off 3 really difficult items. Salads, sandwiches, and wraps. So tips on salads. What's the,
Salads, I would say the biggest tip is to try and use a variety of greens so you get a nice, some nice depth of color and different shades of green, if you will. And then also, because greens tend to, whenever you're putting everything on top, the toppings on there, they kind of tend to, kind of sink in. So false bottoming or building up the bottom with something other than the salad.
Like what?
With mashed potatoes, or I've used dry or wet paper towels before, depending on what I'm doing. And that way you're not having to use so many greens as well.
Yeah.
And it gives a lot of body and oomph to the salad.
Yeah, with those greens too, like if you don't have to use all of them in your shot, if you need to shift or you have to take some time because the client's taking some time and you need to reset, they haven't all wilted in the meantime. So keep some in the fridge, build it up, give it a false bottom. Absolutely. What about any tips for like sandwiches? You threw it out there.
No, just know going into it that you're going to have to do some work in Photoshop. It just is.
Yeah.
If you can avoid it, try not to pre-slice the meats. If you can do it on set, that's the best.
Yeah.
And try and keep stuff as cold as long as possible, because the longer it sits, that meat kind of gets soft and stuff starts,
the bread starts to absorb stuff, and
the bread starts to dry out and it will tend to curl, and just know that you're going to be swapping it. Have several heroes and keep them covered, like of the toppers, and then just keep swapping them out because they get dry.
How long do you think it takes typically to put together just like not a super duper sandwich, but like let's just say like a normal sandwich, it's 1 layer of each thing and it's like cut into a triangle,
from start to finish?
Yeah.
Like prepping all the vegetables, it can take an hour.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's probably being generous, even from that to like set to first shot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Because you've got to, slice, tomatoes and onions and, I usually put my condiments in like little squeeze bottles.
Yeah. So you can just have them where you need them to be instead of
the blops.
Yeah. The blops.
The blops.
What about wraps? Because that's a really tricky one, because the way those come together, you have them stuffed, but maybe you don't. Like what's your experience, or what would you suggest if someone's putting together a wrap?
Wraps are really hard. To get them to look really good, you've got to kind of predict where everything goes in relation to where it's going to be after you roll it.
And then cut it, right?
And then cut it.
Oh. No big deal.
Don't laugh. Definitely don't do it with the dressing, or if you can avoid it, and just put that on kind of, again, one of those like kind of squeeze in where your dressing goes where you want it to be. And to get your wraps to, if you don't have them wrapped in paper, cream cheese is a great glue to get the flap to lay down. So,
no kidding. Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, because I would be like, well, probably a toothpick or something, but then that's not perfect. Yeah. Cream cheese is glue.
Cream cheese is glue.
That's awesome. So what do you like most about food styling and your job in that arena?
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I love food. I've always loved food. But it's such a different and more fulfilling side for me. I think it just kind of, what's the word? It kind of just brings out like the creative side of me, which, you don't always get that, the day in to day out of running a restaurant. So it's definitely a nice creative outlet. I've been out of the restaurant business now for a couple of years, so this is my way of getting my fix, if you will, without having to own a restaurant, which I don't want to do again.
Right. What do you do to like keep your skills sharp between jobs, or
I'm an avid, voracious stalker on, is that appropriate? On
Nobody can
Instagram.
physically stalk anyone right now, so it's totally safe.
On Instagram and Pinterest, and just all the websites. There's just such a vast array of resources out there. YouTube, I'm constantly watching, reading, learning, because even every job that you have, you always come away learning something that you didn't know before.
Yeah, that's 100% true. I think every job I've gone into, no matter how prepared I am for what might be on set, there's always going to be something that happens that's unique to that job, whether it's how the client interpreted what the creative brief was going in, or how they may have interpreted maybe whatever prep I tried to do. Like, I'll try to photograph like the props before we put the food in and be like, how does this look? And, you put like a paper towel and be a placeholder for this or that, right? Be like, this gives you a general idea. And then you go in and you do the shoot and they're like, I don't like that plate. And you're like, how did you? Yeah. But so like each time I do it, I realize something else. Cause I used to just shoot just the plates and I didn't put a stand in. And then I would put like a paper towel in, but even some people have, and it's not judging the client, but some of them have a hard time visualizing a sandwich where a paper towel is. The paper towel helps give volume to a plate, but it's not a good stand-in for a sandwich. So I'll just put like spread down, and then they're like, aha, like the more you can provide to the client ahead of time, the smoother the shoot day can be typically. But those are like little things that you pick up on, or it might be like this sauce worked better than that sauce. But like every time I learn something new. Yeah, that's definitely true.
For sure.
Yeah. So like give me like a victory, like a really good victory on set that you're like super proud of. Like it could be like anything.
Let's see. The one that probably comes to mind, the client was happy with it, which is what's important. Was I 100% satisfied with it? No, but that's not what matters. Was we did a shoot with hemp butter, and the client showed up and they literally had less than a half a cup of product for us to smear on bagels and toast and put on a spoon and do a myriad of other things with a half a cup. And their excuse was, well, it's very expensive.
But you're spending so much money on this photography and the whole day, the studio fee, the styling fee, the licensing.
Right. And they also showed up with a bagel and a banana.
Yeah. Big challenge.
It was a challenge.
Did you toast the bagel?
I do not remember.
Because that would have been a really stressful toasting if it's your only bagel.
I don't think we did, because I remember, and that was the other thing, is that it was a multi-grain bagel. It wasn't even a white bagel. So a multi-grain bagel, multi-grain bread, and then brown. You want to talk about brown on brown on brown?
Yeah.
It was a very brown day. It was a very brown day.
But it was a win because you got out of there. The client was happy.
But we had to end up sending out the office assistant to Whole Foods to purchase some almond butter as a stand-in, a physical stand-in. And then we had to top some of it with the hemp butter. And then some of it, the photographer had to go in and kind of do some little work with Photoshop and fix it. So, it was a challenge. But again, the client was happy with the shoot, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, it's sometimes the hardest shoot when you get to the end of the day,
that like it's the best end of the day ever. It doesn't matter what you were shooting on that day, but it's how many hurdles you had to jump over to get to the end point. Yep. And then you're like, yes. I know. I like to put on the Rocky theme song at the end of a shoot when we're so close and we're like about to send like the last shot. And as soon as the client goes, you're good to go, boom, song goes on. We start cleaning up.
Cue the music.
Yes.
It's a wrap.
Yeah. You got to have a sense of humor. And I think one of the other things that you brought up too, which is important, is that when you're doing these projects, it's not personal. Like you're dealing with a client and their vision and their product. And so, you know, they give feedback and you can't take it personally.
Yeah. It's definitely, it's not about you. It's about the product. It's about the brand.
Yeah.
Because, you know, they have a brand reputation, a brand plan, if you will, that they, you know, are sticking to. And so, you know, that's what's the most important thing.
100%. How would you say your career in food styling has changed you as a person, if it has? And maybe it hasn't, but.
Again, getting back to being more creative, which I haven't been able to do for quite a while. And then it makes you a very patient person.
Yes.
And you have to have very good listening skills, as well as a little bit of mind reading.
That's right. Yeah.
Because, you know, a lot of times they, you know, aren't telling you 100% of what they want. They're kind of wanting you to read between the lines, or sometimes they don't know what they want.
That is true. That's a lot of the times true.
And they're leaving it up to you.
Yes.
And you know, that's a lot of weight.
That is a lot of weight
to be put on your shoulders. The bakery that we do work for over in your neck of the woods, bakery, they just don't have a brand vision. And so a lot of times they leave it up to us, and they're absolutely thrilled, over the moon every time we give them something.
Great.
And I mean, it makes my job really easy. But you know, I would love some directions. Like, where do you want me to go with this? You know?
It is one of those things. It's you would think that would make it easier to have sort of a blank canvas, but that blank canvas can be really intimidating, because then you got to figure out what what you're going to bring to it. And I know I've got a lot of clients, no matter what I'm doing, so I do design, I do photography, whatever, but I've got clients who will say, I don't know what I want, but I'll know it when I see it, and I'll know if I don't like it. Like when you talk about putting an hour to an hour and a half into building a sandwich and to get to the end point, and they're like, oh, you know what? We should have added bacon, or something like that. You'd be like, but I don't have bacon. It wasn't on our creative brief. Cool. To the client, it goes, yeah, no problem. We will get that. But on our side, it's like,
bacon.
Yeah.
Can we Photoshop bacon?
I know, right? I've actually had clients ask, like, can we just add it in post? And you're like, not easily. I think we should really try to just get some bacon and photograph it. I think that'd be the best way to go.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite food to style? Like, is there anything that's like, I love it when we get a chance to do baked goods, or we get to do savories, or?
Baked goods are fun just because there's just so many cute accoutrements that go with them. The pans.
Oh, that's right.
The sugars, the dragées, the little, cups, paper cups for cupcakes and muffins. Mixing bowls. There's a lot of textures.
There's a lot of storytelling, like the process, the flavors, the final piece, and you can kind of pull it all together.
Yeah. And it's a very emotional. Sometimes a lot of emotion goes into those shoots.
Yeah.
And you can show a lot of, taking bites, ripping off pieces, and showing spilled ingredients, and I think it tends to be very realistic.
Yeah. Yeah, because baking can be messy. Messing can be baking.
Can be very messy.
But it's true. Like if you've had a really big baking session, your kitchen is just trashed. But it's like, it's a story of all the all the good stuff that went into it. And then you hopefully have someone who will clean up for you.
Yeah.
Let's see. So do you usually work with a team, or do you work solo, or what does it look like on set?
I've never had a situation where I've had to bring somebody else in.
Mm-hmm.
So usually it's just me and the photographer, and maybe half the time the client has been on site or been available by phone.
Yeah.
But a lot of times it's just me and the photographer working, which is great. It always seems like the pressure is off, because there just always seems to be a little bit more seriousness when the client is there, and it's just
you got to be on the whole.
You have to be on, and it's just a little bit more pressure.
Yeah,
for sure.
All right, so I think we've got we have about 7 minutes before we get cut off. Yay, Zoom, because it's free. So, how about we do your favorite go-to comfort food, especially right now? Like, what's your?
Well, I make my own meatballs, so I just made some of those the other night. Because I do meal prep, because I work a full-time job, which is being a nurse.
Yeah.
And so that's the last thing I want to do at the end of a 13-hour shift is come home and make dinner. So I try and have a day of cooking where I make several meals in advance. So, you can't go wrong with meatballs, and they had, the DiGiorno pasta on sale at Publix the other day. So I bought some of that. It's so good. Let's see, what else do I make these days? Soup.
Yeah, that's a really good comfort food.
Yeah. And you can, definitely take that for a few days until you're like, I don't want any more chili.
What's your favorite soup? Just out of curiosity. If you don't have to make it, someone will give it to you and it'll be perfect.
No, I made potato leek soup the other day.
Nice.
I make chili, chicken, chicken noodle.
Yeah.
My favorite is a Moroccan lentil soup that I make.
Ooh.
Which is very good. And it's vegan and gluten-free, so.
That's good.
But
that's a good one for your pantry items right now. Everybody.
It is using the French lentils. So.
That's right.
Yeah.
Oh, those are nice ones. I like those ones too. Yeah. What is your favorite travel destination for food?
I've traveled a good bit. I would definitely say France.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best meals, with the exception of some of the stinky cheese.
So not a cheese fan.
I love cheese.
Just not stinky
cheese. I just don't like the soft, stinky cheese. But I do, France was awesome, and then Japan.
Oh my God, Japan would be epic.
Japan was pretty epic. So yeah.
What was your favorite food when you were in Japan, out of curiosity?
Oh my gosh. I think I tried ramen in every destination.
Yeah.
We were in, and we ended up, the trip was pre-planned by my father-in-law, who they lived there for about 5 years, and he speaks Japanese. So we flew into Kyoto, the old capital, went up into the mountains of Miyanoshita,
mm-hmm.
and then into Tokyo. And we stayed at this old hotel in Miyanoshita, and ended up finding this this restaurant, and it was known for and famous for their oh my gosh, the word is just escaping me. Tempura.
Oh, tempura. Oh my.
Tempura. And so we got this huge spread of tempura, and ended up being featured in Gourmet magazine like a couple of months later, that restaurant. And I was like, oh my God, we ate there. It truly was. It was the best. It was the best tempura I've ever had in my life.
That's
it was
awesome.
so good.
Yeah, that's epic. That is quite a trip. I would love to get out there and just be able to try out Japan. We got to Singapore, and
Ooh.
that was delicious. We did. Was it? I'm trying to think if it was the No Reservations did a show on Singapore or who it was, but I think it was them. And he went to Hainanese chicken rice. And so Pat was like, we got to go there. So we went to that stand and we had the Hainanese chicken rice, and it was epic, super good. But I mean, Singapore has its own jam, like their own kind of mix on stuff. Like, oh gosh, so good. And we had friends there who could like take us to like local places.
Oh, see, that's the best. That's the absolute best.
Kaya toast. If you've never heard of it, try it. It looks disturbing, but it's delicious. It's like they've got like a coconut custard on like a toast, like a barely toasted bread that is cold, and then they basically put like slices of butter on it with this coconut custard, runny coconut custard, and then they put a runny egg on it. It sounds horrible, but it is so good.
Interesting.
Kaya toast.
I'll have to try it.
Yeah, if you're not a runny egg person, just do the butter with the custard because it's amazing.
Can't go wrong with butter and custard and bread.
Exactly. All right. Well, so quick little things. Favorite breakfast?
My go-to breakfast is Van's waffles with almond butter and a banana.
Yep.
That will usually get me through till about 2 p.m, where I sit down for lunch finally at the hospital. And so, yeah.
Awesome. Favorite beverage?
Coffee and Diet Coke.
Sweet. And tell me someone you admire and why.
Oh, somebody I admire. Well, the people of the moment is the BA Test Kitchen, Bon Appetit.
Yeah.
My daughter and I are all about some Brad Leone and some Claire Saffitz. Watch them voraciously with BA Makes, and just, you know, it's so fun watching them now because everybody's holed up in their houses. So now they're all filming from their houses.
Oh yeah.
So it's fun seeing their home kitchens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. Well, I think we're going to run out of time. So thank you for doing this twice.
You're welcome.
And our first interview was super great too. It's just audio. If I can find a way to make that enticing, I will post that as well, because I think that, you know,
I told you sock puppet.
I know, I might. Well, thank you, and you know, hopefully we'll get on set again soon. The sooner the better.
Looking forward to it.
Subscribe, like the video. I just want to make sure you guys don't miss out on any fabulous interviews.